Good day, everybody. Today I'm going to demonstrate to you what happens if you're able to actually combine the best features of the screening capabilities of Stocks Cafe against the backtesting capabilities of Pyinvesting. And what we're going to do is we're going to get to the screener first, all right? And go under Tools and click on Screeners, all right? And you will come upon a place where you can basically build a customized screener for yourself. All right. So for tonight's exercise, what we're going to do is that we're going to look at the 700 stocks that you can find in SGX, and we're going to look for counters that have several criteria that most retail investors would come to expect. All right. So the first criteria is that the stocks have to be relatively large in size so that there'll be ample liquidity when we actually buy them. So we'll be trying to go with a market capitalization of over $50 million. Then what we are trying to do is we will look for stocks that give a reasonable dividend. All right, we're not asking for a large dividend, we're asking for just 3%. And finally, we want to eliminate counters that cannot sustain their dividends. So we're looking for companies that actually have a free cash flow that is actually higher than the current yield. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate to everybody how to actually build this screen right now. So let's first of all, let's just create one condition first. And what we're going to do is we're going to look for something with a market capitalization above 50 million. All right, so market cap above 50 million. And then let's make it mandatory and let's add the condition in. Okay. All right, and what would happen is that they would propose some kind of a screener name, but let's call it the ERM backtester screen. Okay, and so that's our first condition. All right, so now we're going to add our next condition, which is to ensure that our current yield, which is the amount of dividends that we're collecting, is greater than 3%. And this is a very reasonable kind of request since we like dividends so much. All right, we shouldn't be wasting our time with counters that give less than 3%. And finally, and this is more interesting, okay, what we're trying to do is that we want free cash flow that's higher than dividends. All right, so we can't use this kind of condition type. We have to click advanced condition type, and we have to use type 2. Okay, and this is what we do. We look for an entry called free cash flow yield. Okay, let's see whether, okay, so you see this thing called free cash flow yield, click on it. All right, and it's got to be greater than 1 multiplied by the current yield. All right, so this way you make sure that all the dividends that you're receiving are sustainable. Okay, and make it compulsory, and then you add the conditions in. All right, to actually reduce the amount of stocks further we have on our screen, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add a few more conditions, and this is just to make sure that we don't overstrain our backtester later on. Okay, and so what we're going to do is that we want to make sure that we do not actually include stocks in the STI into our backtest. And the reason is because we've already in this program considered blue chip counters earlier on, so we are not adding them in anymore so that we don't have to examine those stocks. All right, so let's make it mandatory, and let's exclude STI. All right, okay, so you'll be able to see the updated conditions, and then after that we want to exclude REITs as well, because we'll be covering REITs later on, and it's probably no point trying to examine real estate investment trust twice. Okay, so scroll down until you see the ERM SGX REIT counters, and then let's add this subset in. Okay, And just to make things easy for you, we will also be covering business trust later on a separate section, and so we can actually exclude that. All right, so let's show an advanced condition again. And this time round, scroll down to the business trust and X hospitality counter screen, and let's add it in. Okay, all right, so you've got 6 screens, all very granular. We are looking for small cap stocks that are not too small, so we exclude micro caps. And then we want to make sure that it provides a dividend of at least 3%. And then we want the dividends to be sustainable by free cash flow. So we're talking about genuine companies that actually produce dividends from operating cash flow. And then we exclude blue chips, we exclude REITs, and we exclude business trusts. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to call this PRM screen, okay, just to make sure that we get the name right so that we can reuse this screen later on. Okay, and let's just save the screen first. Okay, so once you've saved the screen, all right, you'll be able to find it on the save screen section. Okay, and then you can reuse it next time round. Okay, all right, but all our screens are now ready. Okay, and what we do is that we make sure that we are only applying these screens on the SGX only exchange. Okay, and just leave the minimum condition pass to 1 because we've made every single screen mandatory. Okay, and let's run and let's see what happens. Okay, so once it runs, you will come upon this screen where on the back end, the screening software will begin to sift out the stocks that actually survives your screening process. Okay, and what we can do is at this stage we can click the refresh button to refresh this page for a while, and it'll be complete, all right, in about 10 to 20 seconds. Okay, and now we can review our results. Okay, and so what you're seeing here is you're actually seeing a screen of all the stocks that will be subsequently dumped into Pyinvesting later on. And you can use the screening software to actually sort. So in this case, I'm just curious what's the highest yielding counter in this particular set, and you can click the C.U button to do the sort, and we can see that the highest yielding counter is Top Glove. All right, and Japfer has been doing rather well as well. Okay, so that is sort of why we want to subscribe to Stocks Cafe, all right, because it's got the best screening software, and it actually allows us to customize and build a universe of stocks that we can then use for back testing later on. All right, and what's really awesome is that Stocks Cafe actually has an interface that allows us to transfer this backtest result into pyinvesting.com. All right, so make sure that when you're using this session prior to logging into your Stocks Cafe, you have already logged into Pyinvesting previously. Now, if you have done that and you click the backtest this result with Pyinvesting, all right, there'll be a button that will tell you to backtest now. All right, and you'll come to this page. Okay, and what we're doing is the fundamental backtest, and you can click create your backtest, and you will note that almost all the counters on the previous screen will then be transferred to this current screen. Okay, and do not be alarmed if 1 or 2 instruments have not been transferred. It is likely due to the fact that maybe those counters do not have data that's currently on pyinvesting.com. All right, normally they could be an American depository receipt counter, and may not really be relevant to what we're doing. Anyway, we've managed to capture 72 out of 74 counters in our backtest model. All right, so this is the universe that we're going to do our backtest, and then subsequently what we do is that we could actually proceed to do the backtesting as per normal, right, as what was taught previously in the lesson. Okay, we're gonna build a baseline first, and for the baseline we need to basically enter all 72 stocks. We need to do an annual rebalancing, and let's call this the Singapore small cap test. All right, and all that is left to do is to actually run the back test. Okay, so Pyinvesting would then seamlessly take over from Stocks Cafe. They will run the back test as per normal. Okay, and let's wait for a while for it to run. Okay, and the process is complete. All right. You will find that when you are actually backtesting your small cap counters, you might not be able to capture the data for up to 10 years, unlike the previous sessions that I've taught you. So you will be able to find that our data sort of ends sometime in 2015, so we can probably do a little bit of backtesting up to 5 years in this example. So we go through the same motion and we can note the kind of returns from this particular portfolio. And so if you build a 72 stock portfolio with equal weights, the annualized return for the past year would be fairly decent, right? 25% with a semi-deviation of 13.6%. All right, and so this is basically how you combine Stocks Cafe with Pyinvesting to backtest a series of counters, and from that process onwards, we can go through the process of, for example, selecting superior factors for this group of Singapore small caps. All right, and after this video, we will discuss some of the results that we have collected from this batch of students round of backtesting for small cap stocks. All right, and I will end here. Thank you very much.